Okay, welcome back to turn 12 of the Death Ride to Schweben. And we were really putting the death part into it in the last one. Probably things have kind of gone wrong in a somewhat unrecoverable way. So we're basically down to 2 tanks in C Company, Fishbowl and the SID 42. Everybody else is out of action, apart from Perlick and Taco, who has his main gun and coax are knocked out. And then with second company, we've got Mabutu, Muzp, Spucker, and Mecha Maestro still up and running, and that's it. And everybody else is on fire or dead. So first company is the most intact company, and it's all the way over here where it can't necessarily actually contribute that well. Meanwhile, although Rice has... to you guys, it's only been a day since you saw the last episode. To me, it's been a couple of days, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I can't remember. Yeah, so Rice has pretty much got a rifle platoon minus in the town, which is about to get smacked up by the RT. Has lost a couple of tanks, an AA vehicle, and what I think is a scout platoon, and a single M60. Some of this is bad luck. Some of this is me not really using the Soviets in the right way. So I think going into this, I'm thinking, oh, a tank company, 31, that's a battalion. A tank company with 10 tanks taking on a platoon, an American platoon, that gives me an advantage. Where it should really be, because American tank platoons in this time are 5 tanks strong, that's only a 2-to-1 advantage. So you really need to go 2 companies to a platoon if I really want to play it properly. So I've been making mistakes. There's been some action-filled carnage involved mistakes. This is all about the subtext of this whole thing is learning how to play the Soviets properly in PvP, or in multiplayer against the human being. Playing against the AI, it can be a challenge depending on the scenario, but it's not the same as fighting against a thinking opponent. So, yeah, what are we expecting to see this turn? Well, God knows what's going to happen over here, but I think it's relatively secure. This BMP, which is Giuseppe Fazio and Tubius Maximus, are going to shuffle into this wood a little bit further. We're kind of falling back, want to kind of defend Schweben here, which is not necessarily something Soviet to do either. And first company is relocating. They can't do very much over here because this flank is relatively fine now. Kind of nipped that problem in the bud. And they're transiting over this side because looks like Rice might bring in this M60 platoon this way to kind of squeeze the town. This is like his open gap, as it were, to exploit. So, you know, he knows he's up here on top of here, and he knows that at the moment he's pretty safe, like he's not getting blown up or anything. And he knows that I've lost some tanks up here, 4 tanks in fact, yay. And he knows that I'm pinned because this whole area is getting cluster munitioned, DPICM'd, so I think he might try and punch that as a less risky alternative to punching this way with this tank platoon, because that's going to bring him... you know, it has a bit less room to maneuver, and it's potentially going to bring him into problem territory with the things I have here, which he may or may not know about. So, yeah, let's get the camera set up over here, and let's just press go and see what we get. It's more like DPICM. Yeah, one alternative move that I didn't particularly consider is Rice bringing these guys this way. Like, he might try. It's not impossible that he might try and small DPICM might try and deal with this problem. And oh yeah, somebody just got DPICM'd there, or at least cauterize it. But that's good because he's not really having to go at Schweben this way. Of course, he can wait until his artillery is just ground it all down. Yeah, so that's a pretty, you know, pretty uneventful turn, I would say. Yeah, it looks like Glenn Chen took a cluster munition there. But yeah, like in here, some fleeing crewmen there, and another fleeing crewman there. Bit of yeah. So Rice is moving these M60s up here. So at least he does have to kind of worry about both of these threats here, at least. Taking a pot shot at... I don't know whose squad this is, because... whoever it was has died, but they were in the back of this BMP, which has been destroyed. As opposed to this one. Kyle Reese there, on secondment from TechCom, is sitting there in an immobilized BMP. I wonder if he would like to have some BMPs in the future war. That would be interesting. BMP with plasma weapons on it. So yeah, so we can see kind of Rice is shifting a bit. He's moving the cauterize this angle here to stop me pushing through the wood, which is quite interesting. Because it kind of, despite the screw-ups that I've made here, and despite the losses I've taken, the pressure to act, I think, is still on Rice. If that makes sense. So he's the one who's not in the objective. He's the one who has to come and get me. And to do that, he's got two choices. He can kind of like try and surround the town. Well, basically he's got to root me out of this, of Schweben. Which is probably going to be horrible and messy and take more than, well, I think it depends. But yeah, that's probably not going to be fun for him, especially since I suspect he's low on infantry. So, yeah, so exactly what he does with the tanks here, like, he's going to stop me advancing on this flank, great. But it doesn't bring it doesn't bring him closer to really securing the objectives. But yeah, so that's the left. How did Giuseppe Fazio and Tobias Maximus get on? Just kind of quite happily went for a bit of a drive in the woods. Oh, and they're just debussing at the end there. Oh, I should turn the shadows on. That'd be smart, wouldn't it? Looks, I guess, a little bit better. Or not as bad, perhaps. Might be a better way to put it. So yeah, what happened in Schweben? Not a lot, I suspect. Heatron max setting coming off. Bit of mutual cluster munitioning going on. What's really interesting to note here is how ineffective these cluster munitions are. So my infantry is very pinned, but they haven't really taken any casualties inside these buildings. Just a little bit of relocating going. So You know, even this, you know, that's like, you would struggle to really get, oh yeah, there we go, that was that single cluster munition. Just pinging Glen Chen there. But that's like one bomblet out of God knows how many we've got so far. You know. I think there's one just at the end as well. That looks like a 120mm shell, perhaps. Okay, so it was this. It might be a 155. It's a big shell. That could be a problem if he starts dropping these at this end in exactly the same way that I'm about to start dropping a rain of 122s over here. But apart from all this, what is Mecha Maestro doing? So he's aiming. Oh, gutted. So he got a bead on this M60 out here. He couldn't quite capitalize on it. That's the problem with some of these keyholes. And then for some reason the gun barrel has defaulted to over here. Interesting. But these guys can probably fairly easily just switch over here and at least cover this angle off a little bit. Something exploded over here, didn't it? Yeah, ammo cook-off, okay. Yeah, this M901 we lose sight of. What's this M901 doing? Reversing away, eh? The question is, where is it going to reverse away to? Ah, it might just have relocated. Just like Rice has just kind of shifted a bit to just cover this angle off. Because he probably knows that the BMP got through. And then of course there's very likely another Air901 over here. And if I was Rice, I would have one like here. What's he going to spot up here though, so... That's got to be an AA vehicle maybe? I don't know, because you can't really see very much from up there because of the trees. But I definitely expect there to be like a tow vehicle like here, or somewhere where it can fire across and cover this plateau off. So let's... Do we get much with these tanks? So yeah, Rice is maybe trying to exploit this way a bit. Could be maybe be doing a bit of bounding overwatch, trying to get down into the valley here. So probably going to be a good idea to shuffle the tanks this way, maybe a couple of BMPs. It'll get them out of that kill zone from the arty in any case. But the other, like the bit that goes hand in hand with that is if Rice is doing bounding overwatch and sending some tanks down here, and he's splitting his force, might be able, because of course looks like they might be making a hash a bit, but oh no, that's pretty good. It's just slow. The first company is reorienting this way. And if Rice is getting some... God, look at those guys. They're so exposed. If we can get hull down here, that whole, you know, all... How many tanks have I got left? 8. 8 tanks of the company up there. On X number of M60s. Which... They might have... Yeah, it might have a little bit of... Oh, DC's in there. We can get DC on it. I mean, what could go wrong? You know, some of these assets do have like the spots from them, so they should get a bit of a spotting advantage. Like I say, if DC splits tries to do some bounding overwatch with these tanks, and he's got what 2 or 3 up here, and sends 2 or 3 down here to try and flank out the back of the town. These ones here should be lower down the slope than these ones, so he'll split his force, and I could potentially maybe knock some of it out, and that would at least, you know, I've only killed 1 tank so far. I want to kill more tank. No, 3. Let's try 3 tanks out. Let's try and balance the score there a bit. But yeah. See if we can't concentrate our effort on these guys, because whatever Rice is doing here, I don't think it's going to be that dramatic. So this is still risky, because I'm still expecting a tow vehicle up here, and these guys will fight back. Like I say, I'm pretty sure that Rice has his guys spanked up to crack, and the T62 is not amazing compared to the M60. It's not like it. If I had T64s, this game would be going completely differently. But we did kind of agree to go M60 T62, so yeah. But yeah, let's. Yeah, so it's going to be another turn before these guys get online. How's the arty coming? 1 minute, so 1 or 2 minutes, perfect. And let's start reorienting some of these T62s. To look this way, so they're nice and safe here behind the reverse slope. I say that. Maybe crossing this way would be a bad idea, so maybe we have to reverse a bit first and get further down the slope into safety. Which is going to somewhat change the dynamics, I think, a little. Can we get any defilade? Yeah, so line of sight there is not great. I kind of want to be ambushing Rice's stuff as it goes into that little valley. Let's get Glenn Chen off that way. He's not going to be able to know if there's much stuff coming because of the radio, but bit of cheeky, a bit of cheeky backstopping there. I thought I had more tanks over here. Obviously not. Let's get. Well, you know, actually, that's not that bad a position for Spooker there. Well, actually, it's not great, is it? Let's give him time to shuffle out a bit. Winter, let's get you back up in your building there. That's about all I really want to. About all I want to change here. These guys are kind of okay as they are. That being Fishbowl and the Sid 42. Yeah. Perlic and Taco can't really contribute anything. Maybe use the coax. not the coax, the pintle mount. Axel Palmer may as well stay inside this BMP and stay on the radio. It's immobilized BMP, I should add. And we're kind of waiting for first company here to get into position. Sure they're all opened up. Yeah, the arty kicks off next turn. Yeah, not much else we can do here, I think. Like I say, I pretty much... What's the way to put this? I feel like I'm not going to get a decisive victory out of this. I think it's going to come down now to the pressures on Rice to do something. And basically he's got to come kick me out of Schweben. Now he's going to probably, from the sound of things, from the look of things, arty the crap out of me. And that's going to suck a lot. But at the same time, I'm also going to be artying the crap out of him. So it's just going to get messy and high casualty in there. And he's going to have to come in at some point. So yeah, let's just press go, get it back to him.